Well, welcome along to the Time Form and Sporting Life Weekend Best Bets. David Orr, delighted again. Second week running, no change in the lineup here, joined by Linfoot and Richard Mann. That's despite the tipping performance last weekend. We'll move forward. It's a game where you have to look ahead all the time. Ben, the feature race got Group 1 action, which is really good. It's an interesting Saturday's race. It's the Betfair Sprint Cup at Haydock. Now, the theme that's been dominating this week's the ground. It's been going from Noah reaching for his arc at the start of the week, and with each passing day, the amount of rain forecast is getting less and less. How are you reading the ground when you're writing your ITV Tips preview?
Yeah, it looks like it's shifted a day or so, doesn't it? And from 14 millimetres predicted on Friday and Saturday earlier in the week, we're probably looking at significantly less now. And instead of looking for potentially, horses that go with a bit of cut in the ground on Saturday, I think we're working on the basis that even if a bit of rain does come, these light showers aren't going to affect it as much as we thought. So probably around good ground I'd be working on.
Ground's one factor in these big sprints, the pace is another. We're going to get the Time Form pace map on screen for this contest. When you see a race, Scope, is this how quickly do you reach for the pace map, and what are you reading into it for this race?
Oh, these Group 1 sprints, it's absolutely essential. I know every single 6 furlong Group 1 sprint, you would think there is going to be a good pace, but it's different for each one, and in this one it looks like it's going to be very strong. I mean, you've got Art Power who's dropping back from 7 furlongs who's going to go forward. We've got front runners like Go Bears Go and Flaming Rib. Emiratiana won it from On the Speed last year. You've got Dubawi Legend as well and Brad the Brief towards the stand side. So I think we can be sure that they're going to go very strong, and I think this could potentially bring into play the hold-up contenders and horses that stay a bit further as well.
Interesting little teaser. Well, Rich, welcome to the show. Let's talk about the Mavista Geest at Deauville, which looks like potentially one of the key form lines, definitely at least. Minzal finished in front of several reopposing rivals here, including Naval Crown. How likely is he to confirm that form in your view?
Yeah, for me, I think he'll confirm it again. I thought it was a great run in France, finished the race beautifully, and I love this horse's profile. He's only had 10 runs, which isn't a lot for a sprinter. He's a 4-year-old now. I think he's improving, and I think he'll uphold that form. I think he'll probably come on again. Actually, his last 2 runs, his win at Newbury, and then his performance in France, they were probably the best 2 of his career. And I think as sprinters get older, 4, 5, that's generally when you see the best of them. And I think we might see a personal best on Saturday. I think he's improving, and Owen Burrows is having an excellent season.
Yeah, it'd be huge for Owen if he could capture a second Group 1 of the campaign at Haydock. Ben, slight different opinion with you. You think one of those in behind might be about to reverse form?
Yeah, the Maurice de Geest, a key piece of form. Obviously, Highfield Princess went and won the Nunthorpe after winning in Deauville, so it does look very strong form. Minzal, he's had 4 goes at the top level before and has been beaten on each occasion. He goes in there as favourite. I think he's just got a few question marks hanging over him. And Rohan, who was just behind him that day in France, didn't get the race run to suit that day at all. But he might well get the race run to suit at Haydock on Saturday, because he is a horse that likes to come from off the pace. And what we're watching here, Dave?
This is Minzal winning the Hackwood Stakes at Newbury. So this is him in winning action in the blue and white Striped Cap there for Jim Crowley. What impressed me with Minzal this day is the way that he knuckled down and got the job done, having had a run of near misses.
Yeah, exactly. And look, this horse has always shown a nice turn of foot, loads of class, loads of pace, but he knuckled down well there. And Ben's talked about hitting the line hard. I think he definitely will on Saturday. I quite like where he's drawn as well in 7 next to Go Bears Go, who you think would probably make the run in here. I think things could be teed up nicely for him. And
I think he's going to travel, isn't he? I think he's going to travel really well, and it's a case of how hard they go, and if the closers get to him in the closing stages. Rohan, he didn't have the race run to suit at York last time in the city of York, which is another key form line coming into this. But in his last 12 runs, Rohan, he's won 2 races, 2 Wokinghams. That just tells you that a hell for leather 6 is exactly what he needs, and I think he might get that for the first time at the top level on Saturday.
He's a proper hold-up horse, so do you think this track suits that?
You'd probably say not at Haydock, wouldn't you, traditionally, but I just think the way this race in particular is going to be set up will go well for him. And you look at Rohan's record at Haydock, it stands up to close inspection. He won the Sandy Lane and he's been second there as well, so he's got a good record.
Let's have another video clue here. This is the July Cup. Won by alcohol free. If you've got deep pockets, you can buy at the Tattersall's December sale. That's been released. Second's Naval Crown, who, with this and the Platinum Jubilee form, You could argue, Ben, he almost brings the best form to the table, but he was behind Minzal in France last time.
This is the thing with Naval Crown. He sort of surprised everyone in the Platinum Jubilee when winning at a huge price over 6 furlongs at Ascot. Then he came into this race and ran an absolute stormer there in the white cap behind Alcohol Free, sort of running to the same sort of level that he did at Ascot, and this was a really good run. But last time in France, he regressed a little bit from those 2 runs. That's just the concern with me. Has the edge been taken off him? I think we might see him to better effect in the Champions Sprint when there's a bit of cutting the ground in October.
He was a bit keen in France, wasn't he? Which wasn't like him either. So interesting to see how he bounces back. Rich, we've touched upon Emiratiana winning last year. We've got that video as well. I mean, he came here off the back of a good run in the Nunthorpe Stakes in 2021, and it's exactly the same story this time around too.
Exactly the same profile, yeah. I mean, really quiet actually this season, and then was peak for York. I think the thing with this horse, really strong traveller, like Ben says, wants to come off a quick pace, which you'd think we would get on Saturday, and generally hits the line hard. I thought it was a really good run at York when things probably happened a little bit quickly for him. 6 is a better trip. As we can see here, he does it nicely, and that's pretty strong form actually. In the context of this renewal, he's got to go well again.
Yeah, I think last year's renewal, when he beat the July Cup winner Starman with Creative Force back in 6, who went on and won at Ascot, probably a similar sort of level this year. I certainly don't think it's any stronger this year, you know, with the likes of Highfield Princess missing. So he goes there with a good chance. I think the showers that we're talking about, we don't know. I think they've got to miss for Emiratiana to go in again.
And I think they've got to come or arrive at least for the next horse we're going to talk about. Kinross, my selection it's been much admired horse by horse guide to the race on Sporting Life this week. He won the Sky Bet City of York Stakes last time over 7 furlongs, Kinross. Rafe Beckett, interestingly, straight away pointed him at this. He's running the Kipco Champion Sprint last year, would suggest he can be effective with it. He was a bit unlucky there, ran into all sorts of bother. Here he is over 7 at York winning Scoop. The one thing this shows, he does arrive here in absolute peak of his powers.
That's the best thing about Kinross. I think he's absolutely on fire, isn't he? That career best this day. There wasn't an awful lot of pace in at York this day over 7. That's why horses like Rohan at the back there struggled, and Art Power ended up taking them along the grey. But yeah, he's thriving. The thing is with Kinross, can he do it at 6? He's tried 3 times and he's failed on each occasion. Now they were all Group 1s, but this is a Group 1 as well, and I think he probably does need the rain to arrive just to slow them down a little bit, or otherwise I'd be afraid he got taken off his feet. But he's certainly thriving.
Residents hanging he'd be warned. I'm out on the garden doing a rain dance this evening for Kinross. I do agree. I think we need the showers to arrive for him. Get the time for ratings on screen then. This is the Group 1 Betfair Sprint Cup at Haydock. Naval Crown 131, Kinross second in at 130, 129 Bradley Brief, who definitely wants the rain. Minzal there, the market leader, on 129 alongside Rohan. Tip time, I've gone with Kinross. Ben Linfoot, the winner of the Betfair Sprint Cup is...
Look at that, £2 between the top 6 in the time form ratings. That's the sort of race we're dealing with here, and it's going to be those little margins. So I think a Hell for Leather 6, Rohan off a 129 rated horse there, he'll do for me. I think he'll come good for David Evans.
Rich?
And I'll go for Minzal to hold off Rohan and break Ben's heart.
Again.
We're going to look at the old Borough Cup now at Haydock. Now, we've got a notable absentee. News breaking on Friday lunchtime that Solcombe, the Sky Bet Melrose winner, would have been a warm favourite for this, is a non-runner. Scope dirty, like a few William Haggis at the minute. It opens a race up, Scoop, but you were already going to take him on with one.
Yeah, I was going to take him on. I just thought everything went perfectly for him at York, and he was obviously up a stone, and 3-year-old taking on older horses. But there's no 3-year-old in there now, no Solcombe, so we can stop talking about him and talk about a horse that is going to be in there, hopefully. Golden Flame for Charlie and Mark Johnston. He's a horse who will probably go from the front, Andrea Razzini. He's got good Haydock form, won on this card last year in the 3-year-old handicap over the course and distance, was second by a head to Valley Forge at the track earlier in the season. He went off the boil a bit, but I liked his run last time at Ascot in a really key form race, the Shergar Cup Stayers handicap. You've got Going Gone and Island Brave, last year's winner of this race, in there against him again, and he went from the front last time, was just overhauled in the final fill, and that was over 2 miles. I think dropping back to 1 mile and 6 and going from the front's really going to suit him. So he's on my radar. I wouldn't like to quote a price because with Solcombe still in the betting, it's difficult to sort of gauge what he's going to be, but I'm sort of thinking anything over 12, 14 to 1, and he's going to be on my radar.
Interesting selection. Rich, we've got one of the stars of the Sky Bet Sunday season evaluation here. Is his winning run came to an end at Sandown last time, but all guns blazing. What's that chance you give him in this?
Well, rapidly improving horse, typical De Bois, late maturing type, back end of his 4-year-old career now. Look, he's had a great run. I thought he was unlucky at Newcastle the time before, drawn on the wrong side, but ran a cracker in fourth to Zoffy. And he didn't do a lot wrong at Sandown, but he kind of hung left, didn't he, in the closing stages, and it was a nose at the finishing line. That probably cost him victory.
Cost him the 100 grand, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, just that hanging left under, Jason Hart will be kicking himself, won't he? But I still think he's a progressive horse, and I still think there's a bit more to come. If you go back 3 runs ago at Musselburgh, he was way out of his depth that race, that the front runners got away from him, and he picked up in the style of not a stayer really. It was a really sharp turn of foot to win that day, albeit he's in deeper here, but I think he's got speed, he stays well, and I still think he's improving. He's 8-1 at the moment. I think it's pretty fair with Solcombe out there. I think he'll run well. Slight negative, draw out in 12 at Haydock can be a real handicap, but I still think there's lots to like.
September 6th is the big race at Kempton, Ben. Dubai Honour hasn't quite hit the heights this year. He's chalked in quite short, for or against?
I'm against him, Dave. Yeah, obviously he brings the best form to the table. I think we can say that on his 4th behind Baid last time in the Juddmonte International, certainly on his 2nd behind Sealaway in the Champion Stakes last October. But there's a few question marks, namely the trip. He's tried 1 mile 4 before in Maidan and was well beaten, so he's got to prove himself over 1.5 miles, and also he's never run on the all-weather either. So there's a couple of question marks there, and when you chalk him up at 6-4 in what looks quite a tight race really, I'd be pretty keen to take him on.
I'm taking him on with Mossadaf. It was 2 from 2 at Kempton. I forget his run at Newmarket last time, and he's bang there on the pick of his season form this season. Rich, time form stat of the day is leading you towards your selection.
Yeah, Joseph O'Brien at Kempton. I think he's 29% strike rate, 2 from 7, and a couple of runners up in there as well. So he clearly doesn't waste many darts when he comes over, but specifically at Kempton. I thought Gear Up was really impressive last time at Leopardstown. First go at 1.5 miles since joining Joseph O'Brien previously with Mark Johnson. Beat Cleveland, the Chester Cup hero that day. Was always doing enough value for his neck victory. I think there's probably a bit more to come, and he's closing in on double figures actually. I thought he'd be a bit shorter, so Gear Up for Joseph O'Brien, he'll do for me.
And name only, September Stakes bet is?
Third Realm.
2 words, Third Realm. Thanks to Ben and to Rich. The clock has been beating us, but you'll see on screen our new graphics, and included there are the guys' best bets for the weekend, my own included. As I say, it's a fantastic weekend of action. Good Super Saturday to look forward to. Betfair Sprint Cup takes centre stage, and best of luck with your own Saturday wagers.